Really got it. Oh, we have had Rusted or lost. Mark is on.
Good, Mark.
Yeah.
Michael.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not available. That said, it was not available. I'm like,
Okay, there you go. I hear about that. Sounds good. One day.
it's on the phone, and that's why it's not available.
Commissioner Ross cannot make it.
All right,
Commissioner Ross can't make it.
Okay. We'll call the committee meeting of the Public Safety and Infrastructure Committee to order. Present in the commission room are Commissioner Peach and myself. Commissioner Rusted is on Zoom and Commissioner Hagan is on Zoom. Also, Finance and Tax Director Debbie Nelson, State's Attorney Haley Wamsit, and County Administrator Ford are present. We are going to take a look at the various possible capital improvement projects that we have, and if we did all of them, we wouldn't have any money left, so we have to start thinking about how to prioritize them. In this committee meeting, we're just going to try understand what the needs are and what the wants might be, but can't be met, and bring it to the commission for decisions as we go forward. So I see that Nelson, you have put up is that the summary sheet of all of the
yeah, that
capital
is
improvement
correct.
requests?
That is correct. We have budgeted $1 million in capital improvements for 2024. I know there is 20 million on here for the parking ramp. And I think that can come off here. But that's going to be, the repairs are going to come out of the ARPA fund. So even with that, we're over the $1 million with the request that we have, although the full amount for IT is in there for the 2 or 3 year period. So that could be cut. And I think the actual amounts are less than what they were in July. So I know we only have an hour for this meeting because Commissioner Peach has to be at another meeting at 2. So I don't know if you want to just take them down the list and call them up and ask for them to explain their request.
Well, I guess that's what we should do. Let's start with the building and grounds, I guess. There you are.
Commissioner, thank you for this opportunity to present this information. The requests on my list for 2024 consisted of continuing on with LED conversion in the Cobb to move to second floor, that of a $30,000 price tag. The 6th floor here in Cobb, recarpeting the Commons and 6th floor south. the sixth floor repaint, I would take off of there and we would do that in-house. And fifth floor north, I would take off of that request as we completed that. While I had someone with an injury on light duty, that we completed the entire fifth floor north repaint this winter with lighter weather and have someone on light duty. So that those two requests I would take off there altogether.
Without the repaint or with the,
Repaint fifth floor north and repaint of sixth floor, with long. And then, of the other two last requests on there of the employee entrance doors, north and south. North could come off, south desperately needs to be done on the cogs. There's so much corrosion and rust happening to that door frame that every 2 or 3 months, we have to go in there with a porta power, jack the frame apart because the rust is corroding so bad that it's causing the door to jam in the frame, and it's just the concrete element that's slug filled in the door frame is crumbling to the bottom and the door frame's rusting out, which is causing the door to stick, and that makes it difficult for staff to open that door. And eventually that door will become inoperable as it continues to grow worse. And last is the FC bus conversion on Beta Systems. That would become about a 8 to 10 year project if I was allowed to go forward with it in a structured forward progression. Would be annually, it'd be looking at roughly 75,000 a year for converting from N2 trunk to FC bus. The first stage of that would be first floor here. We've done some on some of the projects already to give you an idea of what FC bus is as opposed to N2 trunk with our building automation software. We have ran on N2 trunk, which is a ladder logic technology for Meta Systems for Johnson Controls. That 10 years ago, they gave county notification that they're not going to support it anymore. 2024 was the end of their, we're not only not supporting it anymore, we're not fabricating parts, we're not doing anything any longer with it. So as we continue to run it, any failures from this point forward are individual upgrades and pieces of parts that we have to go to FC bus. Doing 1Z, 2Z pieces of parts and programming the automation in individually becomes much more cost prohibitive over time doing it one piece at a time, because if you can do it in a project, you're gonna get better bang for the buck. As it is, we are already running kind of a hybrid downtown here. When I did the chiller in 2022 here in the Cobb, that converted 7th floor to FC bus and incorporated that project. When I did DX units in the courthouse, that converted the heating and cooling circuit only over at the courthouse to FC bus. All of our B&Bs are still running from over there as well as here in the Cobb. When the jail addition is done, we'll also be running hybrid out there because the addition will be the minimum security pod, and all of the youth assessment center will be running on FC bus. The existing jail will be running N2 trunk, which I will need to upgrade as time goes on, as we progress on. As we have failures, we're going to be forced to pay for the upgrades on those individual failures. Here in the Cobb, I have 365 controllers that are N2 trunk still. In the courthouse, I have 91 or 93, I can't remember the count on that. And in the jail, we have roughly 70 that will be N2 trunk. So it's $2,000 roughly per controller over a period of time. 10 years time, I'd have a lot. But I'd have to start somewhere annually. That's that FC bus conversion request. So, if any, all would be nice, but
Let's see, Bill, you said, the south entrance door on the top is more important than the north. It's
Yes.
the cost of 20,000 if you split it in half, it's at 10,000.
We're losing one door for 10,000.
So that'd be $210,000 for his 2024 request. Is there anything that's more important than the other?
I would prefer to categorize the FC bus. If we're going to do this in a 10-year procedure, I would prefer not to skip any years on that and start moving. So I would prefer that to take priority. Most of the other projects, we could, we could jump around and do as we find money or have more money available from year to year.
So you're talking about the 7,500 for the FC bus being a
75,000.
priority.
75,000 annually,
It shows 75,000.
and that's realistically, that's gonna be 8 to 10 years consecutively. That and the south door would probably be my priority ones if I had to cherry pick a couple and leave anything else out there hanging.
Say, Bill,
Yep.
Commissioner Rusted, did you say that JCI is no longer even gonna be able to get parts for those controllers in the Cobb?
N2 trunk has been obsoleted 100%. So what's available is remanufactured and repaired parts, which they, can they get them? Yes. Do they want to? No. Because obviously they're not in the market of selling used or refurbished parts. When we're under PSA with them, they're gonna wanna, their PSA is going to be installing what they're representing currently.
Okay, do we have any attic stock to limp along?
We don't have any inventory ourselves, on valves and actuators. I keep a good inventory, which those I can jumper between N2 and FC bus. But the actual controllers, once you make the conversion to FC bus on an area of the building on an NAE, which network operating engine, once you make that transition to FC bus, you are stuck on the FC bus side, because the technology doesn't go backwards. It's like buying a PC, you don't go down in technology, you continue to progress forward in electronic technology.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And looking at buildings and grounds, could we potentially put a budget of 85,000? That would cover the NC bus and the south door. That's the one that's on,
That's the worst one.
so that would be 85,000.
That would give me a start on, that would give me first floor going for FC bus in the Cobb, and then get that south door replaced this year. If we proceeded forward with that, if the commission of that this evening, then I'd have a avenue to go on capital improvements.
I'm just making a suggestion, if we kind of whittle it down.
Sure, we can take a first look at
You revisit it, yeah.
top priorities and see where we are and see what we can come back to. As we go forward. On that, what's the next annual bite on that NC bus?
Realistically, 75,000 annually for 8 to 10 years. I can kind of structure that project and hold it in that range. Just depends on how many controllers I chunk off every year if I was to have that annually made available to me. It's easiest floor by floor in a building like this, but if I had to stop at a piece of ladder logic in a controller, then we just pick up where we're left off at there then too. The easiest is we have this area done, but obviously if we go back to, we could also go back to the terminal block and say we've upgraded up to here. and start over in that terminal block next year at that point, that's depending on where it's at. The courthouse, I would anticipate would be probably a 2-year proposition. The jail would be a 2-year proposition. If then everything would be FC bus after a period of 8 to 10 years. Unless we put forth a multi-million-dollar capital improvements project to do it all at once. That's highly unlikely at this point, but what I'm reading though.
All right, any other questions of, from Jesse? Commissioner Hagan, Commissioner Rusted?
No, they were answered in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pete? Yeah.
No.
All right. All right, well, let's start talking about the correctional center.
Chairing and commissioners, thank you for your time. I have 4 things that were put in the capital improvement budget for 2024, which to recall, this is due on May 30th of each year. So the first item that you see on mine was a John Deere tractor mower for snow removal. As I had anticipated doing some snow removal out at the correction center. And since this was put in, we kind of restructured everything we're doing, counting the snow removal. So that was a $48,000 tractor with implements and stuff. I think this winter hasn't been a good show as to whether or not we need it. But I think with the equipment that Bill has had out there and so forth, we definitely didn't need it this year. So if you're looking for something to cut, I would say let's cut that right now until we see that we have a need for it. Because I think the restructure has possibly eliminated that need for, at least for now. The second item I had on there is a filtered intake exhaust for booking garage and boiler rooms. The boiler room that we have out there, I put a thermometer in and we routinely will reach well over 100 degrees. We're adding another boiler into that room. The pad has just been laid and the boiler will be set soon for the new expansion. That's the same room with a lot of electrical equipment. That's where we have two or three water heaters. And what's happening is the condensers for the walk-in refrigerator freezers are also in there. Therefore, they're pulling and generating a ton of heat and it's not being exhausted. I've been working with Bill and we do have someone coming there, I think
Thursday afternoon, we're doing some research on what some possible solutions will become to get existing equipment that's still operable again.
And so we're looking at that, but that I would say that's a very high priority that we need to have that operable. Tied in that with that though is the booking area and the garage area, of which we have no way of exhausting right now either. So when we have especially diesel trucks and stuff that come into our Sally Port and such, we draw all that diesel right into the facility. So I thinking it's very minor in that, but we need to have some way of exhausting that. So that one's pretty much a high priority. The next one on my list was water heaters. We have 5 very large commercial water heaters in that facility, of which we've replaced 2 in the last 18 months, and we have 3 more that are in need of replacement. This is only for 2 of them. I have 2 of them that are leaking right now, and I got 1 that's not working. So I would ask that we definitely get to replace those. They are 18 years old. So would have been installed in 2006. So we've got good use of them and they go through a lot of hot water up there. And the last thing I have is AC units in the data room. This is a critical room which we have, which has 2 split AC units in it to keep that room cool. The good news is I don't need those anymore because the bad news is they failed last summer. And I had to replace them regardless whether it was in this budget or not. So I did replace them. So I don't need them in the capital outlay for 2024. But what has come to light is What I really do need instead of those for about the same price as in the electronic medical records. For efficiencies and accuracy of our medical records. The large number of inmates that we have and all the, medical stuff we have. I had planned on putting that in later years, but I think, the priority of that has moved itself up in my mind at least, and if there was a way to move forward with that, I would. And I know my staff would love it, and it's a liability issue. Medical errors can cost the county money, and we need to do our best to ensure that we don't have them, and there is a product out there that works with our vendor now. And our Guardian RFID scanner, so we ensure that the inmate is getting the right medication and it documents everything to the time, everything, so. I would, rather than cut the AC units, I would just rename it. If I could. Those are the 4 items I had.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned those water heaters. I just had a curiosity question, but the two that are leaking, are they weeping from a valve or something, or is the tank actually breached?
Commissioner Rusted, I believe it's a leak with the tank, not a valve. I can double check that and get that information to you, but according to
One for sure is a tank. I know.
Bill says one for sure is a tank. I believe the other one is as well.
Yeah, that's not gonna fix itself.
No, we've been trying to avoid it as long as we can, but I don't know that we can much longer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So have you, apparently you worked with Bill on each of these issues as you went forward?
Bill and I speak frequently with each other, yes.
So, because it's almost a buildings and grounds item, not just the correctional center. So as long as he's involved in knowing what you really need, that's what we need to know. So the total that you're talking about, as far as high importance to you, is substituting at 20,000 that you're taking off, would be 91,000.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense.
Anything else?
Any other questions of the need to? Bill, you got anything to say about those exhaust fans, for example?
As far as the Sally Port and the booking area, I can't speak with any authority right now without doing a little more research on it, but I know the boiler room particularly, it needs to be addressed, yes, and there's only one way that we can do it is get the numbers put together first for it.
And how did you arrive at the numbers? Did you get some estimates from different companies so you figured out what you needed to ask for?
This was, commissioners, this was approximately a year ago when I went to our maintenance supervisor out there, John Ratberg, and had him try to give me an estimate based on his knowledge from the past as to what this might cost. We have not had engineers in there yet to look at airflow or anything as of that.
And with all these things that you're talking about, would they be able to be purchased and delivered and put in 24?
I believe so.
No long range supply lines?
Not that I know, I heard, no.
Any other questions? Maybe you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Let's see here. One being sheet.
Wait,
What?
the highway.
Well, that's good. It doesn't give him any money. Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, that was easy, I guess. Good afternoon, commissioners. One project request on the list, and that would be to continue our one shed year rehabilitation schedule, and this year up on the docket would be the Northwood shed. We haven't bid it out or anything yet. I hope to do that soon, but and I am, just for the board's awareness, having I've been having conversations with area landowners and the city of Northwood about sewer service. And how to provide that, because we're not very close to city sewer. And we're in the city extraterritorial area. I'm not sure if we can put a septic tank drain field in. Plus, we don't have land anyway for a septic tank drain field, so I visited with the area AEM, the elevator that owns the land around us, about doing a project together, because they're having problems with their sewer and just some things to work out, but there are some options. I just don't know what would be best yet, but anyway, my request would be is to continue the pattern we have for the last few years of splitting it between capital improvement funds and highway department funds for the Northwood sheds.
Nick, will you tell the commissioners that are online about the revised amount?
I didn't realize, Ms. Nelson was gonna use last year's numbers. I did adjust increase the estimated dollar to 425,000. This inflationary issues and whatnot. If the original request went through at half of 400, I think that would be very acceptable as well too, so.
Even between capital improvements and highway department budget.
Correct, well, we had, the original sheet here presented today was, half of 400. So there was 200 was preliminarily penciled in. I think that would be acceptable as well too, given the short notice and.
Okay.
But
And I see you have Gilby for next year. Is that the list? Have we completed? Are you catching up by doing it this fast?
Yeah, so that would be the end of it. As far as all of our sheds, once we have an agreement to purchase the Gilby shed in January of 25. That would be the end of our sheds. The only one left is the old shed which we rent. So that I don't know that's on the agenda for today's commission meeting to renew the lease with that, but
Sure.
I don't know what we would do there since we don't own it. So at this point, it's just in limbo.
So your request remains that with, you can deal with it if we can approve 200,000, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And how badly does that shed need it? And is it something that would be put off a year or so, or is it something we really need to be doing?
I would say it's similar condition of the other sheds. If the board was really strapped, well, we're always strapped, right? Yeah, if it needed to wait a year, that would be acceptable too. But it would be nice and advantageous to keep going and get it done and then we'd be done.
Yeah, we try to do things as we can do them, so if possible, it'd be good to get those sheds finished in the next year and then deal with other things as they come up, rather than pushing everything down the road.
I understand.
And all of that.
A lot of tough decisions to be made.
Good.
So, I understand.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hagan, Commissioner Rostad?
No questions. You did a good job of laying it out. I suppose, it's never fun to push things off, I guess. So, we do, yeah, with a budget like this versus a request. Obviously probably have to take a little haircut from each and every one. So it's unfortunate.
As a
That has been great.
point on the shed, it was comical. A couple weeks ago, mechanics were out there helping work on the water grader that was there and they had to chase the rabbits out, so. There's holes in the building, but it's functioning, so
It could be worse.
it could be worse, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, IT.
Chairman Hagan and commissioners, you'll see that I have been able to reduce some of my requests. My first request of the computer upgrades. I have not reduced, but I would like it to be split 50-50 for 24 and 25. I can't get them all done in 2024. But I will still need the money committed for 2025 to do the project. Windows 10 goes end of life in October of 25. We need to get everything up to 11 before that. It's just a big security risk otherwise. The next one, network equipment. I had planned to do kind of a makeshift of a network refresh of our end of life equipment in our closets everywhere. I was able to get a grant that I'm bringing to the commission today, but, so instead of asking for 150,000, they're asking for 60 over 3 years. My grant goes 3 years, so I would like that to be committed for 2020 and 20 for the next 3 years, so I could accept the grant. As for the cameras, I did get a grant for the cameras, but I have it on here for 54,000. So I still need to get the server and storage upgraded, which is 20,000. That I need to do in 2024, so I'm asking for reduced amounts, still a lot of money.
Good.
Can I speak?
Go ahead. Yeah.
The fact that you got grants for the network equipment replacement and the cameras is wonderful. I mean, it brings it down of, over 200,000, to 80. So that's wonderful to get those grants, congratulations. The computer replacement, the Windows upgrades, that 150, is that both for 24 and 25 or?
75.
75.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so, but you need the 150,
It does come up to 148,000 or
Yeah.
something, and that is even using some parts, we're ordering RAM for the PCs that can go to Windows 11. We're doing different things to not replace every single PC that we have. But we do need a lot of replacements.
or Windows 11 won't work.
Well, it'll work very poorly if we try to use old equipment.
So you're looking for 75,000 on this budget, and then 20,000 of the 60 was for each of 3 years, and 20,000 on the server, following in this year too. So is that what, 105?
150.
What? 150, yeah. 150. Any questions, Roblin? Mr. Hagan, Commissioner Rusted?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Ford, you haven't spoken up on any of these things, you got anything to add to these?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job getting all that extra money.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of work.
We need to have, you should start writing grants for Nick.
I didn't think that was on the right track.
He does plenty of those already, that's good. Okay, Sheriff's Department.
Chairman Eng and members of the commission, can you hear me okay?
Yes. For a second.
Beautiful. All right, thank you for your time today. Sorry I couldn't be in person today, but just gonna talk quickly about the capital improvements projects that we did submit last year for tentatively 24 and 25. We had a physical and mental health room submitted for the capital improvement project. And obviously there's been several things that have came up between now and then for needs in the county and the sheriff's office. These are both items that we still want to be considered. We understand that obviously looking at the budget set aside currently, you're going to need to make some cuts. By no means are these something that we should keep pushing off to the wayside, but I want to the commission to continue to consider these options. I do continue to look for alternative funding for these projects. Potentially, even in a different facility when the sheriff's office gets relocated sometime in the near future here. But these are a couple items that I think, well, at least half the commission is aware of the past regarding physical fitness with law enforcement and the correctional center. There used to be a program and requirements established for law enforcement officers and the correctional officers to maintain a physical fitness level. After some time that they were provided a monetary award. And then through the years, that all just kind of went away, along with not the commission or the county used to pay for law enforcement officers' gym memberships. And that is all went to the wayside. Something that is becoming more of a reality. I guess the older I get or we get, the more you start to recognize that law enforcement officers should not necessarily be in the best shape of their life when they start their career, but it's great if they are, but they need to sustain and maintain that throughout their career for their safety and the safety of the community. Mental health obviously is a big issue, not only with criminals, but the people that deal with them. And the ability to be physically fit and have a location to do that. Sometimes, obviously, not working out with the suspects or the individuals you're arresting is a good advantage as well. So we want to keep that in mind that this is something that the county should address sometime in the near future here. But it's not. I'm not saying you need to strike it from the capital improvement projects. We'd be more than happy to look at starting to build this facility. When I say facility, it would be located inside our current water operations center. There's a designated area in there, actually next to the bathroom capital improvement project that I'd say is about 2/3 complete right now. But in that same area is where we would be locating it, secure area, access to other local law enforcement as well. But that was, that was the number. The number submitted was 210,000 based off of potential projections for this year. And those do fluctuate a little bit. The reason that it was submitted for a couple year time frame was, we can phase it in. The construction would be one portion, and then potentially getting equipment in there over a few year time frame would also be suitable. So that's what we were looking at.
So Sheriff Schneider, when you talk about the 125,000, are you saying the full 125,000 in 2024? Or would it be broken up somehow between 2 years?
Yeah, Commissioner Peach, thanks for the question. What I was looking at was, if depending on capital improvement projects, seeing how they typically come into the county, it's something that we would be willing to have spread out, spanned over, a 2-year time frame, get an initial phase of equipment in, get it established, and then 2025 phase in some more equipment.
So there would really be no way to divide it up between 2 years?
Yes, there would be a way to divide it up. That's yes, I 100% agree with you.
So you could do 62.5 in 2024 on that project and 62.5 in 25?
Yeah, or we could do 45 this year and 80 next year, or whatever the breakdown the commission felt appropriate, we could definitely work with.
I think instead of pushing off so much into the second year, it would make more sense to do 62.5 each year. And then there wouldn't be as big of a chunk in 2025.
No, I think I couldn't hear some of what you said about the location. It would be up in the top floor of the police building?
Chairman Engen, members of the commission, it would be located in our water operations facility. That building, the sheriff's office and the county own. So that's the facility out on Gateway Drive.
Okay, that wasn't quite sure
It
what.
used to be place we do not intend on having to move out of.
All right,
I had a quick question for you, Andy. Maybe you guys have discussed this before, but when I think of these rooms, it's similar to just like a gym that's accessible for the sheriff's deputies. Is that basically what you're,
When you consider what? I'm sorry.
sorry, would you like just describe, is it just basically like a gym for the deputies? Is that like the equipment that you're talking about is just benches and barbells and, okay,
Yeah, treadmill, ellipticals, rowing machines.
okay,
Correct.
cool.
So for the sheriff's department, would it make sense to have the 62.5 half in 1 year and the 85, so it'd be 148,500? Is my adding right? 147 and a half.
I'm not sure where you got the number. 85.
85 and then taking half of the 125. So that would be 50,000, so 12.5, so 62.5.
Right,
So that would be 147,500
this year.
this year.
Sheriff Schneider.
Yes.
If there was a 50-50 split for the next 2 years, does that give you enough equipment in year one that makes the room worthwhile for the deputies?
Commissioner Rusted, members of the commission, based off of the current equipment that we have, which is none, yeah, that would be a significant start to the project.
Yeah, sounds good.
Everybody kept track of the numbers as we go along here?
Yeah.
Any comments from you, Debbie, or Falcon? No, sir. Okay. Any other thoughts on how to,
We have one more.
well, that's true, but. Okay, what? that's the
Why?
vehicle?
Yeah,
Okay, I guess I'm curious as to why that's the capital improvement.
It's over $20,000.
Okay, that works out.
good afternoon, commissioners. I am just requesting a transport vehicle. For as long as I can remember, we've never had a new vehicle at the youth assessment center. We've always got the hand-me-downs, which has worked out fine. But as we move to the new facility, we are going to be doing much more transports, bringing kids back and forth, continuing with the medical appointments. So we just want to make sure that we have a safe and reliable vehicle. Just to kind of give you an example, one of our officers left one of our vehicles on the street this winter. And in the morning, when we went to move it, we had a parking ticket on it and it wouldn't start. So we had to pay 120 to have it towed into our garage. So we just don't have the most reliable vehicles. We really like something that we count on.
What kind of a vehicle do you need?
Well, I was looking at the bid form from Nelson Auto and I'm looking at maybe GMC Terrain, and that's only 26,000 actually. We're just wondering if there's gonna be enough leg room once we get the cage in. The other option would be a Ford Explorer, which is at 42,800. So.
Probably it would make sense to put 42,000 in instead of 20 some, because if you end up with a vehicle and it doesn't work, it's kind of an asset that doesn't make it usable.
And how do you transport people in this, you have to have a deputy sometimes, or
No, we transfer them.
you just call, you transport?
But they use a cage inside that back,
What?
a cage
Sure.
is used
Regular.
for safety. So I would propose, or I would say to put for the youth assessment center, 42,000.
42.5, I think so.
Was it 40?
42,800, but could we maybe do like 45, just
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
get the cage in there? I don't know what the cost is there.
Commissioner Hagan, Commissioner Rusted, Any thoughts or questions?
My only question was how much would be to equip the vehicle or and outfit it, and she just answered that, so I'm good.
And I have no questions.
Okay. Well, if we have a summary,
Well, you didn't say anything for the correctional center. So it wasn't sure, or the, you know, you didn't say for sure on the highway or
no,
IT, so I really don't know how to ask them.
I was, the correctional center, I believe that what Brett, explained would be
91.
91,000.
that was it.
And then the Northwood shed with, for Mr. West or for the county highway would be 200,000. The computer, the IT,
115.
115. Then the sheriff 147.5. And then youth assessment center 45.
683,500 of our $1 million.
So relatively, that leaves $300,000 in case anything were to come up during the course of the year.
I'm comfortable with that personally.
What was it?
What was that, Mark?
I said I'm very comfortable with what was just laid out.
Yeah.
You uncomfortable or comfortable?
Comfortable. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Hard to hear on the screen from the back of the room there. So. All right, well, are there any other questions or topics? Anyone want to add to their discussion? When you've spoken to us today? Obviously, this is a committee meeting, we're gathering the information and we will bring it to the commission plan.
Anecdotally, I guess I'll just add this one thing. When I hear leaky water heaters and I message Kim something very similar, it makes me very nervous because that means it's usually fairly corroded on the inside of the tank, and it does not take much to have a very, very significant problem. As somebody that's lived through a few of these, that's full city water pressure all over everything until somebody notices it and kills the water to the heaters. There's almost never a safety valve on those. And so I guess I would put that as a real high priority in my personal opinion with my job history.
Are you saying to add on another water heater right now, or just waiting to see how the third one will go?
I'm just putting an explanation point on my support for getting those heaters fixed as soon as possible.
What could be done is it could be brought up today under committee reports. The commission meeting and a motion to be made at that time
For the total amount or
Yes.
for the individual things?
for the individual things, and I can make a list for you.
Okay, let's keep that
Okay.
and discuss it today.
Sounds good.
Okay, anything else? If not, anything else from the audience? No, none?
Thank you very much for coming and
Yeah.
submitting your,
We need to have
Your
you
need.
straight.
we appreciate that.
Right, so we adjourn.